Howdy there, welcome back to the channel. My name's Evan, or EJ, you can call me either one, and today I'm going to be doing both my spoiler-free and spoiler-filled review of Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. So in the first half, I'm just going to give my overall thoughts on the movie, whether I think it's good or not, whether I think you should see it. Then in the second half of the video, I'm going to be going, talking about all the spoilers. So, yeah, I've been closely following the production of this movie for around 2 years now. I'm very excited to talk about it, and I finally saw it the other day, so let's just get into it. I like how in the one Transformers video I've been excited to make for, since the start of my channel, it's the one video where you can't see my Transformers figures, at all. I mean, they're still here. Is that right? Yep. The boys are still here. You just can't see them now because they're behind me. They were behind me the entire time, but now they're not visible. But, let's just talk about the movie. So obviously first up is the spoiler-free section of the video, and I'm sure the question a lot of people who haven't seen this yet, and who have seen the past Transformers movies are wondering is, how does it stack up compared to those ones? Because, the bar's not super high when it comes to the live-action Transformers installments. But I'd say this is a very easy top 3 Transformers movie. I could see the argument being made for the first Michael Bay movie being better than this one. I could see that argument. Personally, I like this one more, just because it has more of what I like in a movie personally. So I could see the argument for that one being better. I'd still say Bumblebee is a better movie than this one, though. So, yeah, easy top 3 for me. I highly suggest going out to watch it and see it in a theater. Because, well, actually, okay. So, critics, Rotten Tomatoes critics and stuff, and audiences seem to be very split on whether or not it's a good movie. Because I know on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is a 55 or something like that, and I think the audience score is, in the high 80s or something like that. So, if you're just looking for a really fun movie to go watch and have a good time, I highly suggest going out to see this movie. And I don't mean that in, the same sense that the previous Transformers movies, well, kinda. I know a lot of people say that about the Michael Bay movies, and for some of them it's true, but for some of them they say that, and it's they're just a slog to get through, 4 and 5. I've heard people say that about those ones. Those ones are not fun at all. Don't watch those movies. Oh my god. I almost knocked everything over. But back to what I was saying. Yeah, if you're just looking for a fun movie that has a lot of heart and great action sequences, I highly suggest going out to see this one in theaters. If you're someone that is looking for, a super, strong... that's probably really loud when I breathe into the mic like that. But if you're someone that's looking for, let me just put it like this. It's not Shakespeare. There are times when the dialogue felt a little... it could be improved, but, as a Transformers fan, I am very used to getting spoon-fed just dog crap, so if this movie was anything above decent, I was going to see it as great, which it was, so I see it as great. But, if you're someone who... you're kind of hard to impress when it comes to movies, or you just don't like this type of thing, you're probably not going to like this. But if you're someone like me, who just likes fun movies with a lot of good action and a lot of heart, I highly suggest going to see this then. I also just want to say that if you're a Transformers fan, you're a fan of the franchise, but you're hesitant to go see this, or you're concerned, because normally in these movies the human characters are terrible, so you're kind of do I really want to go see it, because the human characters do get a decent amount of focus in this. Don't worry about that. The human characters in this movie are great. I'm not going to try to give too much away, because this is the spoiler-free section. But they're very likable characters. They're not completely useless. They're not, super loud and rambunctious and annoying like certain past human characters. This one continues on the path that Bumblebee set up with having enjoyable human characters. If that's something you were concerned about, but don't worry about it. This movie has good human characters. Okay, and that about wraps up the spoiler-free section of the video. Just to put it out there one more time, I suggest going out to watch it in theaters, because I thought I had a really great time. It was a lot of fun, in my opinion. So if you're looking for a fun time, definitely go watch it in theaters. But now we're getting into the spoiler-free section, so I'm going to give you 5 seconds to get out of here. Then I'm going to, dive into the spoilers. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the movie starts, and we hear narration from Optimus Primal. I can't remember exactly what he said, because it's been a few days since I watched it, and I just can't remember what his speech said. But then we see Unicron, and he's attacking the Maximals' home planet. And I actually have a question for Beast Wars fans. It's been a long time since I've watched the show, but weren't the Maximals also from Cybertron? Or am I remembering that wrong? I thought... Like, I know they're still, like, in this movie, descendants of the Autobots, so they're technically still Cybertronian, but their home planet isn't Cybertron. So I don't know if I'm remembering that wrong from the original show, or if that was a new choice for this movie. So if you remember the answer, or you're a Beast Wars fan, could you please tell me that? Because I don't remember, and I'm too lazy to Google it. So there's that. But yeah, so Unicron is attacking the Maximal's home planet. It's about to be destroyed. And we see Optimus Primal, Cheetor, Rhinox, and Airazor, and Ape-Link, who I guess at the time of this scene was the leader of the Maximals. But he hands the leadership role off to Optimus Primal because he's about to sacrifice himself to try and slow down Unicron and the Terracons, so the rest of them can get away and hide the Transwarp Key, which is basically the MacGuffin of this movie. You know, every Transformers movie has one. Wait, did Bumblebee have one? I don't think Bumblebee had one, but all the other ones have one, where it's just like this random item that they have to protect or get back from the bad guy or something like that. So yeah, for this movie, it's the Transwarp Key. And I just gotta say, Scourge's entrance in this scene is so cool. That is easily one of the best like entrances for a villain in this whole franchise. It's because he has like glowing bit in his chest, so you just see that in his eyes glowing from the forest, and it's so cool looking. It's great. Also, Peter Dinklage did a really good job voicing Scourge in this movie. I liked him a lot. But yeah, so then we get a quick fight between Scourge and Ape-Link, and when I say quick, I mean quick, because Ape-Link dies like immediately after it starts. So yeah, it was a really cool opening scene. I like that a lot. Also, no, it's not the first time. Never mind. But it is, it was just a really cool scene, and I liked it a lot. And I think it was just really cool to see at least one extra Maximal in this movie besides, our main four. And even though he just looks like Optimus Primal, but he's silver and has blades in his arms. Still a cool scene, though. Then after that scene, we cut to Earth in New York in the year 1994. I think. I could be wrong about the year, but I'm pretty sure it's 94. But in that cut, we meet one of our main human protagonists for this movie, Noah, played by Anthony Ramos. We learn a lot about his character in this opening scene. One, that he's good with electronics, because he's like fixing up I can't remember if it was a DVD player or it was some, a piece of technology that he was fixing up for his friend. But we also learned that his brother is sick. He has some sort of illness, and Noah is really struggling to make money. He's trying to get a job, but no one's hiring him, and he wants to get a job so he can help pay for his brother's medical bills. So just in that opening scene, we learned a whole lot about his character, and I gotta say, aside from maybe Charlie, Noah and Elena are very easily the most likable human characters out of all the live-action movies. I know a lot of people like Sam, but I've always hated that guy. Like, he was all right in the first movie. After that, he just became kind of insufferable. But I really like these two, Noah, Elena, and Charlie from Bumblebee. All really great human characters. Speaking of Elena, after that scene, we meet her, and we discover that she's like an archaeologist, I think, and she works in a museum. And she's really good at what she does, but her boss is always taking credit for her work or just doesn't really care about what she's doing. So that kind of sets up why she wants to work with the Autobots later on and kind of do something bigger than this, what she's currently doing, because she's not getting the credit she deserves. So really great Man, I'm just great at speaking English considering it's my only language. I really suck at this. Jesus. Should I set the cast up from this movie behind me on one of these shelves? I'm gonna do it. Take this down. Optimus. Bumblebee. I don't have the figures from the movie, but same characters. Wheeljack. I don't know if I have enough room for all of them actually on these shelves. Mirage, and I just remembered I don't have an RC figure, so she's getting left out. But there's all the guys from the movie. But after the scene where we meet Elena and Noah for the first time, we see Elena, the museum she works at, found this bird statue with a Maximal logo on it, which is very clearly meant to be Airazor. And Elena, after hours, when she's not supposed to, studies it on her own, and she puts it in this thing. I can't remember what it's supposed to do, but she puts it in there to, like, study it, and it starts crumbling apart, and inside is one half of the transwarp key, and that sets off a beacon that the Autobots can see. And from that scene forward, we meet the Autobots for the first time. We start off meeting Optimus Prime, and he's in like this bus yard, which is very clearly where the fight with Transit was originally supposed to go before it got cut. I really wish it kind of hadn't got cut. I know we're going to see it eventually because the director said it's probably going to be in the deleted scenes on like the DVD and stuff, because it got pretty far along before they cut it. So I'll be on the lookout for that, but I'm still curious what the scene would have been like in the movie. But after that, we see Bumblebee. He's just kind of driving down the road. We don't see his robot mode. But then we meet RC. And RC is someone I wanted to talk about real quick because Liza Koshy did a surprisingly good job voicing her. Like, I actually liked her a whole lot in this movie, and I wouldn't mind seeing her continue to be RC going forward. Normally, I'm more, along the line of hire people with more voice acting experience, but Liza Koshy did a surprisingly good job, so I actually really liked her version of RC. After that, actually, I skipped something on accident. Noah doesn't get hired at his job interview. Actually, he doesn't even get to the job interview because they refuse to see him because Noah's old... someone he was with in the military, I can't remember what kind of rank it was or whatever, but someone he worked with in the military said that he was unreliable or something like that, and they contacted the people that were going to interview him for this job interview, and they just refused to see him now because they were told he's unreliable. Which, by the way, that's just... How big of a hater do you have to be to do that? But, so because of that, Noah and his friend Reek, who's in this movie, decide that they're going to steal a car that they can sell off and get some money to pay for his brother's medical bills. And that car just happens to be Mirage. So you can obviously see where this is going. So at the time when Noah's stealing Mirage, Optimus Prime sends out a message saying calling all Autobots, and obviously Mirage starts driving on his own. But before he drives away, security catches Noah stealing the car, so they get into a cop chase. I just gotta say, during this car chase, Mirage just straight up kills two guys. Like that one guy whose car flips upside down and then he gets T-boned by a giant truck, he's dead. And that other cop who like runs into those pylon things, I'm pretty sure he fell off the bridge, right? Like, was I seeing things? I'm pretty sure both of those guys are dead.
Relax, I'm Mirage, remember?
But aside from, Autobots just murdering people, all the Autobots meet up at this warehouse where Mirage gets there first, and obviously Noah's freaked out because not only was the car driving itself, it just turned into a 15-foot tall robot voiced by Pete Davidson. By the way, Pete Davidson did a really good job too. Like, his characterization in this movie, it's really not Mirage. Like, in the original source material, Mirage, most of the Autobots didn't really trust him because I'm pretty sure he was like an ex-Decepticon or something. But also, he was the guy who always was just kind of wanting to go home, go back to Cybertron. Which, before the movie came out, I was kind of wondering why they made that change. Like, it seems like if you wanted to have his character be more like the Earth-loving fun guy, you would get someone like Jazz or Smokescreen or something. But now I kind of get it after seeing the movie, because in this movie, Optimus is kind of always talking about how much he wants to go home and how he thinks he failed because he got his whole team stranded here on this random planet. So I kind of get it now why they changed it, because it kind of would have been overbearing to have two Autobots just kind of moaning about how much they want to go home. Granted, I still don't know why Mirage is the character you went with. You could have done someone like Jazz or Smokescreen or someone like that, or Hot Rod. But also, to the people saying that this movie would have been so much better if it had been Jazz, it literally would have changed squat about the quality of the movie. It wouldn't have made the movie go up or down in terms of quality. It just would have been a different character that you happen to like more, so you think it would have made the movie a lot better, but it really would not have changed literally anything. But, I don't know. A lot of people just seem to be, like, just want to die on the hill that if it had been Jazz, the movie would have been so much better. And also they just do that because Mirage is a portion of this movie, and they're like, that's Jazz's car mode. No, it's not. This is Jazz's car mode. This is Mirage's car mode. Yes, they're both Porsches. They're both different kinds of Porsches, though. Not the same car. Please stop griping about it. I am begging you. But anyways, as I was saying, all the Autobots meet up in this warehouse, and we see Bumblebee's robot mode for the first time. And I gotta say, out of all the designs for Bumblebee in live action, this one's easily my favorite. One, because I just really like the car mode. That like late 1970s Camaro, I think really works for Bumblebee. But also, I feel like his proportions make more sense than they usually do. Like, for the first 5 movies, he seemed like he was a bit too big to just turn into this muscle car. Like, it wasn't like it didn't take me out of it super often, but it still felt kind of weird. And I know mass shifting has always been a thing in the Transformers, like, shows and movies. But, I don't know, at times it just felt a bit, I don't want to say unrealistic, because, like, realism, it's kind of hard to factor in when you're talking about a alien robot that turns into a car. But it just kind of was distracting a little bit. So I think this is very easily my favorite design for Bumblebee in live action by far. Jesus. Okay. Oh yeah, speaking of characters who have their best designs in any live action movie in this movie, RC, easily, because her design in the Bayverse is perhaps one of the worst designs from that entire franchise. It's terrible. Her design from the Bumblebee movie is good, but I actually prefer this one because I like the red, and I just feel like her face looks a lot better in this movie. So yeah, her design is way better than it usually is in the live-action stuff. But the scene in the warehouse is also where we see the start of Optimus Prime's arc in this movie, where at the start of the movie, he just doesn't like humans at all. He doesn't like Earth, he doesn't like humans, because he thinks we'll always just kind of think about ourselves, or, just like not care about anyone but ourselves. And at the start of this movie, he just kind of is only looking out for his own people, and he's trying to get everyone home. And I really like that Optimus has an actual character arc in this movie, because to my knowledge, he didn't have one in any of the previous movies, did he? In the first one, I don't think he did. He was just kind of, good old Optimus in that one. Second one, he was dead for most of it. Third one, didn't really have an arc in that. Fourth one, I guess his arc in the fourth one was kind of similar to this, where he was learning to trust humans again after, they kind of turned on him from the previous movie, but I don't even know if you can really count that, because it wasn't much of an arc. The fifth one, he was just evil and only in that movie for 10 minutes, and Bumblebee, he was only in that movie for 3 minutes, so he didn't get an arc. So yeah, this is the first time Optimus has gotten Jesus, excuse me, I'm burping today. This is the first time Optimus has gotten like a proper character arc in a live-action movie, and I really like it. It's just really cool to see some of the robots actually be characters instead of just kind of there to punch each other. I really enjoyed that, so that's just really great to see for me personally. But after that, the Autobots send Noah to break into this museum so he can steal the half of the transwarp key, because it's setting off that beacon, and that that's like their way home. That's their ticket out of here. But obviously, one of them can't break into the museum because they're 20 feet tall. Not exactly super discreet, so they send Noah to do it. By the way, Mirage can just turn into a bunch of different cars, like without having to scan them. Like, he turns into a Lamborghini, then he turns into a Ferrari, which is also an F1 car, which is cool because that's like his classic car mode from the cartoon, so it was cool to see that referenced. But also, and when I was speaking about mass shifting earlier, this one really putting that to the test. He can turn into a garbage truck. Like, that vehicle is so much bigger than he is in Robot Mode. I want to see what his Robot Mode would look like when he turns into the garbage truck. Like, is it just the same? Or if he's a different car whenever he transforms, is he going to look different in Robot Mode? I want to see Garbage Truck Mirage. I want to see that now. But while Noah is breaking into the museum to get the transwarp key, he runs into Elena, and obviously she's like, well, can't let you get this. This is museum property, and they call for security, and while the security is like questioning them, the wall explodes and he just dies. And the Terracons have come because they're also here to get the transwarp key. And obviously a fight ensues between the Terracons and the Autobots. And the Autobots fail miserably. They fail so bad that Optimus gets severely injured and Bumblebee dies. Bumblebee is dead for 90% of this movie. Which I actually am kind of glad. I won't say I'm glad about it because I love Bumblebee. Like, he is a really good character that I like in these movies, but it's kind of nice to see him kind of take the back seat while some other characters get the shine this time, because he's been the main character, or like the main Autobot, of 6 movies now, so it's kind of nice that he's just kind of on the back burner for this one. But yeah, he's dead for the majority of this movie. But yeah, the Terracons get away with half of the transwarp key, because, you know, obviously they were going to get it first. This is the first half of the movie. But, you know, after they've killed Bumblebee and they've left with that half of the transwarp key, we get this cool scene where Scourge is, like, meeting with Unicron. And the other Terracons can't see Unicron, I guess, but Scourge is, like, seeing Unicron in his head or something. But it's a real meeting that's happening, and he gives him half of the transwarp key, and Unicron's like, "You idiot, this is only half of it." And he, like, lifts him up, and we see Unicron lifting him up in the... I don't know if I want to call it, like, a vision. I guess we'll call it a vision. Like, he's lifting him up with powers or something. But you also cut back to, like, what's actually happening with the Terracons there. And Scourge is actually just floating and being, like, restricted in midair in, like, the real world, too. And I thought that was a really cool scene. It felt like... It was just a really cool scene to see. Like, I thought it was really cool. I'm saying cool a lot. Jesus Christ. But yeah, that was just... I thought that, like, visually, it was a neat scene. Oh yeah, I completely forgot to mention... the reason that the Terracons don't just kill the Autobots after they win the fight is because Airazor shows up and, like, shoots fire at them. So they're just like, well, screw this. I'm leaving. The Maximals are here. Or a Maximal is here. So yeah, Airazor kind of shows up and saves the remaining Autobots. Bumblebee's dead by this point, but you know, after that, and after the scene I just talked about, where, you know, Scourge meets with Unicron, we meet back up with the Autobots and the humans and Airazor, and they discover that the other half of the transwarp key is in Peru because Elena figures it out. I can't remember exactly how. It was because of, like, some symbols on the statue, the bird statue I mentioned earlier. I'm pretty sure it was. So yeah, they're going to Peru now. And the way they get to Peru is on this Autobot named Stratosphere, who is not in the movie a lot. He's kind of just there to take them place to place. And he's voiced by John DiMaggio. And John DiMaggio voices, like, a lot of Transformers, doesn't he? He's in a lot of Transformers media. He was Leadfoot in the 3rd and the 4th movie. He was Crosshairs in Age of Extinction. Now he's Stratosphere. He didn't voice a Transformer in the show, but I'm pretty sure he was, like, a minor character that showed up in an episode of Transformers Prime. Like, he's in a lot of Transformers stuff. So is David Sobolov. He's in this movie. He voices 3 characters in this movie. He voices Ape-Link, Battletrap, and Rhinox. But then he was also Blitzwing in the Bumblebee movie. He was Shockwave in Transformers Prime. Like, this movie has a lot of, like, Transformers voice actors that have showed up and played other roles in other pieces of media. I just think that's really cool. But yeah, they go to Peru so they can find the other half of the transwarp key. And they go down Noah and Elena go down into this cave to try and find it because once again, the Autobots can't fit down there. They're too big. So they send Noah and Elena to try and find it. And while they're down there, they get attacked by Freezer, and another fight ensues. Or was it a fight or was it a car? It's a fight / car chase between the Autobots and the Terracons. And Optimus, I gotta say, Optimus has, like, almost all of his lines in this movie are so cold. They're so good. Like, he is just... I don't even know, like... Scourge says something... I can't remember exactly what he said. He said something about, I'm gonna leave you on this dust ball of a planet, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what Scourge says. But then Optimus just replies by saying,
I can think of no better place to bury you.
And that is just... I had the stank face going this whole movie. It was so good. I love Optimus in this movie. I know I've seen people say that he's, like, too edgy or whatever, But like that's like part of his arc. He's super angry in the first half, and then by the end of the movie, he's more of the Optimus that we know and love. The like one who's more accepting of humans, who's not as violent. So I don't know. I love Optimus in this movie. I think they did a great job with him personally. I just watched that clip back, and obviously that quote doesn't sound as good in my voice because I don't sound cool. But just imagine that. But it's Peter Cullen saying it as Optimus Prime, and it's way cooler. I didn't do the line justice. Sorry. Also, in this fight / car chase, Wheeljack and RC get done dirty because there's a scene where Battletrap like uses his like tow cable, I guess, or his like hook thing to hook onto Wheeljack, and he slings him off the side of a cliff, and Wheeljack just like slams into a rock. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention they meet up with Wheeljack when in Peru. And I want to talk about Wheeljack for a minute for a couple of things. Number one, the whole Wheeljack debacle is so funny to me because for like a year now, he's caused so much havoc with like within the Transformers fandom, where people are like, he doesn't look right, he doesn't sound right, he's not Wheeljack, and then he caused all this trouble, and then he's in the movie for a total of about 10 minutes and has like 1 or 2 lines. I just find that hilarious. What a chat. But also, I just want to say, in terms of his personality, we don't get much of his personality. He doesn't talk a whole lot, but like the first thing he says he was like watching butterflies and just like appreciating nature and stuff like that, and talking about how beautiful it was. And in that moment, I was like, it seems like they wanted him to be Beachcomber instead of Wheeljack. Like, why do they do that with like 2 of the characters in this movie now, where Mirage is much more like Jazz or Hot Rod or something like that, and then Wheeljack is a lot more like Beachcomber. And so I'm curious why they didn't just make them those characters. I don't know. I mean, that's just a minor gripe, and I thought it was funny. But after that fight / car chase, we meet the Maximals for the first time, or the rest of them anyway. We've already met Airazor up to this point. Oh, and actually, before I go into that, I want to mention that during the fight, Scourge like infects Airazor with this like virus tracker thing that will become important a little bit later in the movie. But yeah, after that we meet the Maximals. We meet Optimus Primal, Rhinox, and Cheetor. And this scene we actually got released like a few weeks ago before the movie came out. It's not the whole scene, but like the first little bit of it. Hey, hey, hey. Not so fast. And going into this, I was unsure of if they were actually going to stick to the Maximals like actual backstory from the show, where they are the descendants of the Cybertronians or the Autobots, because I did hear that obviously they were going to be from a different planet, they were from a different world. So I was like, well, are they like descendants of them then? Because if they're not, then Optimus Primal's name makes literally no sense, but they are. Primal confirms that he is named after Optimus Prime, so that's cool. But we hear Cheetor's voice for the first time. Well, no, we don't. Did he say anything in the beginning of the movie? I think he had like one line at the start of the movie. I can't remember what any of his lines were, though. I also just want to talk about Rhinox for a second. I don't even know if he says a single word this entire movie, which is weird because everybody, like the entire cast, was like, oh yeah, David Sobolov is voicing Rhinox in this movie. It's like since December we've known that. I think Rhinox says maybe one sentence, and it's nothing special. Which is weird because Rhinox is supposed to be like the really smart Maximal. He's kind of like the Wheeljack of the team. He's not like in terms of their personalities, but like they're the smart guys on the team. But like I don't know why why Rhinox didn't get like any dialogue at all. That kind of made me upset a little bit because I really like Rhinox. He's like my favorite Maximal, but you know, he didn't die or anything. So if they do a future movie with the Maximals, they still have the chance to give him more of a character. He does have a cool fight scene though towards the end where he has like this giant like war hammer and he's like killing not Predacons, that's what the Scorponok are called. But yeah, I kind of wish Rhinox had gotten more to do in this movie. I also straight up forgot to mention they didn't find the other half of the transwarp key in that cave. It wasn't there. It's with the Maximals. The other Maximals have it. They entrusted it to this small village in Cusco of humans that know about them. So like they've kind of been entrusting the humans to take care of it and keep it, safe. And I guess, that's been working out for them. But yeah, I thought that was cool. Just like there's this small group of people that know about the Maximals' existence, and that explains why there's like that statue of Airazor and those illustrations of the different Maximals throughout history. I thought that was actually a really cool little moment in the movie. But after we meet the Maximals and we kind of got to know them for a little bit, everyone's just kind of chilling at the moment. They're like relaxing for a night because they've been going nonstop, being chased by the Terracons and trying to get the transwarp key. So they spend the night in this village just to actually get some rest. But the next morning, that infection virus thing that Scourge put on Airazor has kind of fully taken over, or not fully, but mostly taken over her, so she's kind of being forced to fight against them now. And in the heat of all this, does Optimus tell them to, I think either Optimus or Mirage tells the humans to run and get the transwarp key away from there, because the Terracons are also here now, because it was also a tracker. So they run away, and Noah is going to destroy that half of the transwarp key, because he's like, sure, without it the Autobots can't get home, but also without it the Terracons and Unicron can't destroy my planet, so I'm going to destroy it. But Optimus like begs him not to, and he's just like, please don't destroy that, I just want to go home. And so Noah doesn't destroy it, and that kind of like sets in motion Optimus kind of learning to trust humans a little bit more, because he's like, okay, you're not only looking out for yourself here, you kind of help me out a little bit. So that kind of like really gets Optimus's arc going, and like where he learns to trust humans more. But also in this fight, Optimus Primal is forced to kill Airazor, because if they don't, she's just gonna keep attacking them. And that was honestly surprising to me. Like, I didn't think any of the Maximals were gonna die in this, and if one of them did, I figured it was gonna be Rhinox, because like in the trailers and stuff, he got the least amount of screen time. Like, we never heard him talk. He barely was in any of the trailers. I don't want to say he was barely in them, but just like, we didn't see a ton of him. And we saw probably the most of Airazor, and she's the one that died. I guess it makes sense, because like, I can't really see Michelle Yeoh wanting to come back to do a ton of these in the future. It's probably just like a one and done thing. Like, that was probably part of whatever contract she signed. So yeah, Airazor dies. And I will confirm that the rumors are in fact true. She never once transforms in this movie. She's a bird the entire time, which kind of sucks, but it's whatever. But yeah, it was honestly a really sad scene, because Primal had to kill, one of his teammates, like one of his closest friends, and that was like honestly a really sad scene. But I forgot to mention that the Terracons do get the other half of the transwarp key, and they build this or they don't build it, but like, they take it to the top of this volcano, and a structure, like a big metal structure, forms on top of it, like around them. And so we're entering the final act now, like the final battle, and they're now gonna try to bring Unicron to Earth to consume it. And so this is also kind of like the rock bottom moment for the good guys of the story, where they're all just like, all hope is lost. But now Optimus kind of trusts the humans now, and he's like, we still gotta try to stop this thing, like, let's go do this. But yeah, the final battle starts now, and we get this really cool moment where not all the Maximals and Autobots, but most of them, aside from Mirage, are all like gathering up on top of this hill beside each other, and then Optimus and Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal, it's really confusing when they both have nearly identical names. They both just go, Autobots, Maximals, roll out, and then they all start running towards Scourge, Battletrap, and Nightbird. And that was a really cool moment. But they're doing this to kind of distract Scourge and the Terracons, because the Mirage, Noah, and Elena are off going through this like venting system to try to, not get behind, but like get closer to this panel thing so they can stop Scourge's like grand plan to bring Unicron to Earth. And only the humans can fit through there. Conveniently. There's a lot of conveniences in this movie for the humans. Like, there's a lot of human-sized problems, which is weird, because, it's a movie about giant robots, and all this stuff that they're doing is created by the giant robots, so it's kind of weird that there's a bunch of human-sized stuff, but still. That's what Mirage and the humans were off doing, and everyone else is kind of like distracting all the Terracons. Sorry, I was swatting away a gnat, but yeah, that's what was going on in that scene. During this final battle, we finally get our first look in the movie. Anyway, we saw we saw them in the trailers, but we get our first look within the movie of all the Maximals robot modes. And I'd say for the most part, Evan, you absolute genius. For the most part, they all look really cool. Optimus Primal looks really cool. I kind of just wish he had a bit more color to him, like some blue here and there. But you know, still, like, the design itself is really cool. Cheetor looks great, even though we never get a super clear image of him in the movie. We've seen what his robot mode looks like from like control art and stuff on like the Studio Series toy on the box of it. So I really like his design a lot. I'd say out of all the Maximals in the movie, he is my favorite robot mode because it's like super colorful and like I just think it looks really cool. He also has this cool like spear that splits into two swords, which is super like cool. And then we get Rhinox, who has the least amount of screen time out of all the Maximals and the least amount of lines. His design also looks great though. I kind of just wish there was more green because he's also just kind of completely silver and like gold. Could have used some green in there. But yeah, I'd say for the most part they all look really cool. And in this final battle, I can't actually remember what did it. I assume it was probably the transwarp key in some way, but something just sends like a surge of energy. Maybe one day I'll learn how to speak English. I hope. That would be cool. A surge of energon just kind of like pulses through. I don't know if it's the entire planet or just like the immediate like area they're in. But it brings Bumblebee back to life, and he has this really cool scene where he enters the final battle, where he like jumps out of stratosphere. You've seen it in the trailer. But the song that's playing is Mama Said Knock You Out by LL Cool J, and it's like one of the best scenes in the movie for me. And he like kills Nightbird midair, which was also really cool. Yeah, Bumblebee's like return scene at the end of the movie is really cool. I like that a lot. Let's see what else. Mirage technically... Okay, so Noah is about to get murdered by Scourge. Like, he's just out, like, in front of him, defenseless, about to get just obliterated by Scourge. But then Mirage jumps in front of him and just, like, tanks all the shots, and Mirage dies. Which also surprised me, because if I had to make a guess for which Autobot was going to die in this movie before seeing it, I would have said either Wheeljack or RC were on the chopping block, because I remember before the movie came out, they were like, oh yeah, Mirage is like our new kid appeal character. He's like the one everyone's going to get attached to. He's the one we're going to market a lot. So I was like, okay, there's probably no way they're going to kill him off. He dies. Technically, kind of. When you think he's dead, like, he looked pretty dead. He was just a lifeless corpse sitting there on top of Noah. But then he, like, comes back to life briefly and is like... I can't remember exactly what he says, but he purposefully makes his body fall apart, and it turns into a suit of armor for Noah, which was honestly pretty cool. I wasn't expecting to like the suit of armor as much as I did. Like, I actually liked it a lot within the movie. I thought it was done really well, and it actually gave the humans something to do on the battlefield besides just kind of be a liability. So I actually really liked that. But yeah, Mirage pretty much dies. Until the post-credit scene where we see Noah rebuilding Mirage with all these like found parts from like different cars. Like, it's all obviously pieces from a Porsche 911, but it's like they're all like mismatched. They're different colors. They're old and like beaten up. But he brings Mirage back to life in the post-credit scene, so that was neat. I'm curious though if they make any future installments in this specific continuity, if Pete Davidson is still going to voice him, or if he's just going to be like, no, I'll peace out. Because, like, I don't know. I feel like Pete Davidson would be expensive to keep voicing the character. But I don't know. I'm sure they've got enough money to do whatever. Optimus, after he kills Scourge, he's gonna, like, sacrifice himself to make sure Unicron doesn't eat the planet. And He also has this other really cool line where Unicron says, "I can basically give you anything you want, Optimus," and then Optimus just looks up at him and goes, "Then die," and then he like destroys the transwarp key. One of my favorite moments in the movie. That was so cool. But after he destroys the transwarp key, Unicron is like, getting kicked out of the planet's atmosphere. He can't eat it anymore. But everything that, like the big structure they were on, just starts getting sucked up into the sky, and so does Optimus because he's standing on it. And, after he starts getting sucked up into the sky, Optimus tries to use his axe to, like, anchor himself to the ground. But that doesn't really work. He still, like, starts getting sucked up even more. But then Noah, since he has this exosuit, he, like, grabs Optimus, and he was, like, actually able to kind of pull him back a bit and stop him from getting sucked up there. And he says, Optimus says, "Noah, get out of here, save yourself." And then Noah says, "Till all are one," because that's one of the famous Transformers quotes, and that's kind of like the theme of this movie. But even Noah wasn't enough to like get Optimus down, and he starts getting set up again. But then Optimus stops, and you see Optimus Primal grabbed him, and then he also says, "Till all are one." He like slings him forward, and Optimus does what is perhaps one of my favorite transformations in this entire franchise. It looks so cool. It's like the toys. It looks so cool. And like he uses Noah as like a booster from like the suit. He has like what are they called? He's basically rocket propelling Optimus forward really quickly, and it's so cool because in this scene, Arrival to Earth from the first movie starts playing, and I don't know. That's like one of the moments in recent years in like terms of movie going where I just had a big dumb grin on my face watching it. Because like that song is really nostalgic because it was in the first movie, and it was just really cool to hear that on screen again. I loved that a lot. And that pretty much sums up the final battle. We get a quick a wrap up scene after the battle where they confirm that Unicron is not dead. He's still out there, but he's just kind of been delayed and he can't get to Earth as of right now. But I assume that means that they're definitely setting up like at least a trilogy where Unicron's going to be a threat again. Here's hoping that Galvatron is in one of those movies or Megatron just in general. I want to see Megatron again done right. But yeah, that was neat. We get a speech at the end from Optimus. That's just kind of a staple of the franchise now. But this was cool because in this movie, Optimus and Noah have like pretty much the same character arc where they kind of like learn to trust each other. So it's cool that Optimus first gets his speech, but then afterwards, like after Optimus is done, Noah also gets a speech where it's like it's kind of like the same thing, and I actually really like that. That was a cool little spin on it to kind of keep it new, because like obviously we've heard Optimus do these speeches a million times at this point. I never get tired of it though. But yeah, now I want to talk about something that kind of made my eyes roll when I saw it. After the speeches, I'm like, the screen goes black for a second. I'm like, okay, that was a great Transformers movie. That was great. Like, I thought it was the final scene, but then another scene comes on screen after the screen goes black, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it looks like Noah's going into another job interview. I'm like, oh, okay, he's gonna get a job. And then he meets with this guy, and this guy knows exactly what Noah was doing. Like, he knows about the Autobots. He knows he was in Peru to try and get the transwarp keys, and he was like, oh, I can't remember. He works for some government agency, and I remember thinking to myself, please don't be Sector 7. Please don't be Sector 7. So I was just like, if it's Sector 7, that means they're probably going to try and tie it to the Bayverse, and I don't want that because it would just make the continuity even messier. Then he like hits a plaque on the wall, and this door opens, and you see this big like room with a ship being worked on, and like all these workers. And I was like, he was like, here's my card. I'm like, it's gonna be Sector 7. Then he flips the card over, and it said G.I. Joe, and I kid you not, I thought to myself, why couldn't it be Sector 7? What? Why are they doing a G.I. Joe crossover? Why? Does anyone want that? Like, I don't hate G.I. Joe or anything. It's just not something that's ever interested me at all. And from what I've heard from people who are fans of G.I. Joe, none of the movies have ever been good. But it seems like they're teasing this big connected universe now with like G.I. Joe and Transformers. And all I'm saying is that if any point in the future I have to go see a G.I. Joe movie to understand what's going to happen in the next Transformers movie, I'm going to fight this man. Because I know it's his fault. I know for a fact it's his fault. I'd be willing to bet money on it. Please don't make me watch a G.I. Joe movie just to understand what's happening in the Transformers. I just want to watch the big robots fight each other, dude. Is that too much to ask? Jesus Christ. But yeah, other than that very, very worrisome final scene, I really enjoyed this movie. In terms of like just as a movie itself, grading it, I'd say it's probably around a 7 out of 10 in my opinion. However, within the context of the Transformers movies, which is how I'm looking at it because I'm biased, this is a 9 out of 10. It had what? Jeez, I had a bubble in my throat. It has most of what I want from a Transformers movies. That's great action, a lot of heart. The voice acting is pretty like it. I liked the voice acting a lot. The human characters were good. So within the context of the Transformers, 9 out of 10. As a movie itself, probably about a 7 out of 10 in my opinion. And that about wraps up my thoughts for Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. I probably, now that I'm thinking about it, should have waited to do my ranking the Transformers movies video until this movie came out. Because now I want to re-rank them. But I feel like just one movie is kind of, it's kind of a lot to remake a whole video just to put one movie in. But also because I just made that video like 2 months ago. So here's what I'm going to do. About a year from now, when Transformers 1 comes out, I'm going to remake that video with this movie and Transformers 1, and I'm going to include the animated movie. So, Transformers the movie from 1986 and probably Predacons Rising. I'm going to include all those. So, about a year from now, I'm going to remake my ranking of the Transformers movies video. But yeah, if you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on my post notifications if you don't want to miss any of my future uploads. I try to upload every Sunday, but there's always something that gets in the way that either makes it a day late or a week late, so no promises on that Sunday release for videos. But yeah, that's about all I got for you today. See ya.